Hello, welcome to the Grand Prix podcast! Yes! Welcome to the Culture Files. This is a brand new series where we will be deconstructing F1's absurd, expensive, and completely unhinged culture, with affection, side-eye, and absolutely zero journalistic objectivity. And in each episode, we will be uncovering topics the TV broadcast won't touch, the news outlets won't analyse, and honestly, probably shouldn't be left to us. But here we are. We're not the experts, we're not the insiders, we're the girls with opinions, a concerning amount of free time, and a genuine belief that we are the only people asking the right questions. So, get out your red string, your Polaroids, and your magnifying glasses, because this week we are pulling on a thread that goes all the way to the top, through the paddock, past the billionaires, and straight into the part of F1 that nobody wants to talk about. This week, we are delving into the Nepo baby paradox.
Ooh.
It's a hot topic.
Right, let's start off easy, ladies. What is a Nepo baby?
Ooh, see, this is where I thrive. The pop culture questions. You know, I wasn't doing well with the F1 stuff before. I finally got DRS last week, but this is for me.
What does DRS stand for?
Drag race. Nope. Drag reduction system.
There we go. Nice.
Thank you.
I'll let you off for the first error.
Thank you. You can cut it out if you want. If you love me.
No, I don't think I'm gonna.
A
Reem,
Nepo
please
baby.
focus. Oh, sorry, you were focusing. Sorry, no, that's on me.
I was focusing. You've
No,
put
you're
me out
right.
of that focus, and now
No,
I'm
you're
distracted.
right. That's
Thank
on me.
you.
Sorry.
Thank you. A Nepo baby is someone who got famous or got into a field and immediately went into a senior position because they've got a parent or some relative or a very close family friend that got them there. So it's not really based off of their talent, or sometimes it's partially based off their talent, but the way they got to that position is through that connection that they had.
Can you give some pop culture examples?
That's actually very useful. I haven't got that written down.
Ooh,
I've got one.
On the spot.
What's his name? Jaden and Willow Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, valid.
Reem, your head's looking mad empty right now.
I'm trying to think. you put me on the spot,
basically
and now I
came
can't
in,
think.
this is my moment, and then you were like, I don't really know.
What's her name? The girl from Stranger Things, Maya Hawke. She's the daughter of Ethan Hawke,
Okay.
and that's how she got into acting.
I've never seen Stranger Things.
There's the girl from The Substance. Her mom is also an actress.
Could you give us some names?
I said Maya Hawke.
Yeah, okay, fine, great.
I forgot the name of the one from The Substance.
Hailey Baldwin / Bieber.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's move on. Okay, Nepo is short for nepotism.
Actually, that's a good point. I forgot to say it was short
You
for
did,
nepotism.
I don't, yeah. Mm-hmm. Nepo is short for nepotism, which is a fancy word for when someone uses their connections, their money, or their very powerful last name to get their kid further in life than their kid probably would have ever gotten on their own. A baby in this instance means the child of someone who's already successful. You don't have to be a baby to be a Nepo baby. It's an age-inclusive term because we're progressive here at Grand Prix.
Very nice.
Now, is being called a Nepo baby always an insult? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's just a descriptor. Sometimes it's used with genuine contempt, and sometimes it's used by people on the internet at 2 a.m. who are just trying to understand why their favourite actor looks like that and can't act. We've all been there. But here is where Formula One comes in, because if Hollywood is a Nepo baby factory, F1 is the original. It just had better PR. So, to begin a career that might one day lead to Formula One, you need to start...
Karting.
Well done!
Well done.
Thank you.
And not just the kind of karting you do at a friend's birthday party. You know what I mean?
I don't know what that means.
You know...
I wasn't invited to any.
Oh!
I actually once had a birthday party and not many people showed up.
How many people showed up?
My sister, my brother, my mum and dad.
Can I drop another Phineas and Ferb reference?
Yeah.
Sure.
There's like an episode where Doofenshmirtz, who's like the evil character, is like, he hates birthdays and stuff, and he's like, no one showed up to my birthday party when I was a kid, and then he's just like, no one even showed up to my birth, both of my parents weren't there, and stuff like that, and that reminds me of you. Maybe you're going to start your villain arc soon.
Oh, maybe. We'll see.
Well, you've had a good arc because we threw you a birthday party and lots of people turned up.
That is true. I've evolved.
What we
I've
didn't tell
grown.
her is we had to pay them.
Yeah,
Oh.
they were paid actors.
Oh. Well, that's not great to hear. How do we move on?
Right. The kind of karting that gets you noticed costs between $50,000 and $100,000 per year. And then Formula 4, $200,000 to $300,000 a season. Formula 3, $800,000 to $1.2 million. Formula 2, the last step before F1, can come up to $2 to $3 million per season. So by the time you physically arrive at the Formula 1 grid, you've spent millions of dollars just to find out if you're actually any good.
And if you want a full breakdown of the process to get into Formula 1 and so much more information than that wonderful summary from you now.
Thank you.
You can go back some episodes and listen to Inside the Driver Factory. It's a 2-parter that we put out last summer, and it's basically talking about all of that, but in so much more depth.
And we went in debt because our son Bruno was in Formula 1,
Yes.
and that cost
A
money.
sentence that will make
Bankrupt us.
no sense unless you listen to our episode. And it took me a second to know what you meant. I was like, we didn't spend any money doing that episode.
We also don't have a son.
One day.
Most drivers survive this by finding sponsors or getting picked up by junior academies, but for the vast majority of talented kids, the dream doesn't end when they run out of talent, it ends when they run out of money. The sport calls itself the pinnacle of motorsport, with the best drivers in the world, and sure, the drivers on the grid are genuinely talented, but the entry requirement isn't just talent. It's talent plus more than $5 million, which means the grid has always been shaped not just by who is fastest, but by who can afford to find out. And with that in mind, let's talk about 2 drivers who sum up this whole perfect mess very nicely. Dun 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 dun. You can cut
I
that.
like that.
Oh, you can keep that in. So, Max Verstappen. Reem, how much do you know about Max Verstappen's sort of origin story?
He is the son of Jos Verstappen,
Boom.
and Jos Verstappen was a Formula 1 driver.
Correct, from 1994 to 2003. Do you know much about his mother?
No.
So, Jos Verstappen never quite hit the heights that he'd hoped for in Formula 1. And as it turns out, it was a very dangerous thing to tell a competitive man with a son and a workshop. But his mother, Sophie Kumpin, was a karting prodigy who, in her junior career, raced against and beat future world champion Jenson Button. So, genetically, this child was cooked up for racing. He got in his first kart at 4 years old, and from that moment, Jos started to throw everything at Max's career. He prepped Max's chassis and engines in his own workshop whilst Max was at school. They tested 2 to 3 times a week. They drove over 100,000 kilometres a year together in a van across the Netherlands, Belgium and beyond. And Jos knew exactly which engines to use, which carburetors to fit, which setups would work for all the tracks. And he wasn't just a dad on the side of the track, he was a full-time, unpaid race engineer who happened to also have competed in Formula 1 itself. But his methods were unconventional, to say the least. He made Max drive in freezing temperatures when Max couldn't move his fingers. When Max said it was cold, Jos would say, "I don't care, drive." He deliberately told Max he couldn't overtake in certain sectors of the track to make him find new places to do it and not win so easily. He sent him out with secretly altered kart setups to test his feedback knowledge. He would routinely hit him over the head whilst he was wearing his crash helmet in front of other people when he felt Max was driving badly. And most famously, after Max crashed out of the 2012 CIK FIA KZ2 World Cup, that's fucking catchy, and lost the championship, Jos stopped the van at a fuel station on the way home, told Max to get out. Now, Max's mother Sophie was driving separately a few minutes behind, so Jos knew that Max wouldn't be completely stranded, and he came back and collected him, and then the two of them drove a full 1,800 kilometres home together in complete silence, and Jos did not speak to him for the rest of the week. His explanation was, I wanted him to understand that he had to think when he was racing. The season after that incident, Max won 2 European championships, the World Championship, and every race he entered.
But at what
That's
cost?
not great.
His poor
Yes.
mental health.
Yeah.
There's
not
quite
great
a lot
parenting.
of things online that I've seen of like Max kind of trauma dumping and being like, ha, ha, ha.
Yes. Yes, but he passes it all off as like jokes.
Yes.
Oh, that's unprocessed trauma.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But that leads me on to another driver that is currently on the 2026 grid. Now, Lance is the son of Lance Stroll, who's a Canadian billionaire, fashion industry titan, and a man who's never encountered a problem that couldn't be solved by spending a significant amount of money. Lawrence's father, Leo, imported clothing and held Canadian licenses for Pierre Candé and Polo Ralph Lauren. Lawrence grew up learning the business and then was handed the Pierre Candé operation at 17, bought 70% of Tommy Hilfiger for reportedly just over $200,000 in 1989, grew the sales to nearly $2 billion by 2000,
Damn.
then paid $85 million for 85% of Michael Kors, a stake he eventually sold when the company was valued at $20 billion. The man knows how to turn something into something else, and as it turns out, he also applied this skill to his own son's racing career. So Lance did actually show genuine promise early on. He was crowned Quebec Karting Rookie of the Year in 2008 and Driver of the Year of 2009. He then moved into car racing in 2014. $60 million appeared, not from a sponsor, not from a benefactor, from his dad. And he invested directly into Prima, the junior team Lance would race for, buying him the best car, the best equipment, and state-of-the-art home simulator for his home. Lance won the F4 championship in his debut season, went to F3, finished 5th, then won the championship outright in 2016. Then came Williams when he arrived in Formula 1. Then in 2018, the Force India F1 team entered administration. Lawrence led a consortium to buy it for £90 million. Lance was ushered in, Esteban Ocon was ushered out, and by 2021, Lawrence had spent $235 million acquiring a stake in Aston Martin, rebranded the F1 team, and Lance has been there ever since, driving for a team that exists in its current form only because his father built it around him. So, Jos Verstappen was not Lance Stroll, but he was not nothing either. He was an F1 driver for nearly a decade, had his own karting team, and had the kind of insider knowledge that the average parent standing on the side of the track simply doesn't have.
Yeah.
But I think the crucial difference, and this is why this part matters, is that Jos invested into Max, but it was not primarily money. It was himself, completely obsessively, and by most accounts, quite alarmingly. But is there a meaningful difference between a father who uses his expertise and his connections to engineer his son's path to Formula One and a father who just uses his bank account to do the exact same thing?
Oh.
Discuss!
Well, it's investment, but in two different ways. One's investing their time and one is investing the resource that they have access to. It's both still an investment that a parent is making into their child's ability to move up the ladder into a career of their choice. Do I think one is better than the other? Is that the question?
The question is there a difference in terms of two Nepo babies, which they both technically are? Is there a difference between one that uses his connection and expertise in the field that he's trying to get his son into and one who just uses his bank account to do the same thing?
No.
Because I think people treat Max and Lance differently, even though both their fathers have had a huge helping in their current F1 careers.
No, it's the exact same thing, I think. And I think the main issue that most people have is that it is, at the end of the day, unequitable, because there are, people like Max who has a dad who has experience in Formula One. It's a known name. He has experience with karting and has his own karting team, and the mum also has her own karting career and stuff like that. And they have not only the knowledge of the sport, how to get into it, and also the knowledge of sponsors, equipment, even just knowing people in the industry. A lot of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know, and that probably played a big role in it as well. And then with Lance Stroll, you've got someone who's able to spend a fuck ton of money to basically buy him into teams and stuff like that. Whereas you have other drivers, Esteban Ocon, for example, who didn't grow up with any wealth, and his parents basically would, they would sleep in a car in like a caravan and drive around to try and get him to different karting competitions and stuff like that. And they didn't know anyone in the industry and they didn't have access to any of the money, and they kind of had to just really, really work for themselves to be able to get their child into that position. It doesn't matter whether or not you have knowledge or you have money. At the end of the day, you have something that is giving you an advantage in motorsport, whereas there are thousands of people who have skill and passion who don't have that same advantage.
Yeah, I mean, with Lance Stroll, it's nepotism in terms of this is his team, Aston Martin is his team, and he was able to buy Lance Stroll the position to be in the team. And I think him spending money on him is not very different than the drivers that are coming from extremely loaded families, like Gabby Bortoletto, for example. His family is absolutely loaded, and that gives them privilege to enter the sport. So yes, it doesn't give them privilege to enter a team directly and buy a position, but still allows them to compete. I think the difference lies in the drivers themselves, because with Lance, I think the reason people get pissed off at him and the reason they judge him a bit more than they do with Max is Lance doesn't seem to actually care about driving. or care about being in F1. It's not his passion, especially in his interviews. Like, you see it in the post-race and post-qualifying interviews, and he doesn't really speak that much. He doesn't seem to be angry if he crashes, and he doesn't seem to be very enthusiastic if he gets a really good position. He just kind of seems very neutral. And I feel like if next year they said to him, well, we need to replace you with someone else, I don't think he'll care that much. I think he'll just be happy to then, spend his money that he's gotten from F1 elsewhere. While with Max, I don't know if this was because of his dad or because of himself, or if it's a combination of both. He genuinely seems to be passionate about F1. He tries not to show his frustration too much, but you can see it, especially at the start of the 2026 season. Red Bull's not been doing great, and you can see that he's not very happy with it. And it's because he does love the sport, and that shows in his talent and his ability to have won 4 different championships. And probably a part of it is being raised with that mentality, but a lot of it comes down to him caring about it. That's where the biggest difference is. It's not so much how they got to it, it's what they ended up taking from it.
But at what point do you consider that not him caring about it, and more him, maybe being afraid to not be as good as everyone else because there's potential punishment?
For Max.
And maybe also letting down his parents. There's also the pressure of your parents have basically set you up to be in a good position for this. If you don't do well at it, you're letting them down, you're letting yourself down. And he's also grown up with the negative impact of not being good at it, or, well, not performing to his dad's expectations, and the consequences of that.
Yeah, I can see your point. And I think, there probably is a level of not wanting to disappoint his parents and also being scared of their reaction. But I'd also say that's probably the mentality that majority of the drivers have, especially the ones that didn't come from much money. With Lewis, for example, his dad worked multiple different jobs to be able to afford to have him go into karting and go into F1. And Lewis probably has more fear of disappointing his dad than Max does, because of the amount of work that he's put in to get him into the sport, than Lance would or Max would, because they've actually had to spend all of their savings, each and every single penny, to actually get him to be part of it. So there's a lot more respect there.
I'd also argue, though, that Max has been saying lately that he is losing interest in the sport. And, he's been doing the Nürburgring 24-hour race recently. He won. He was disqualified. Sorry about that. But he's also been saying, I won a championship now. I don't need to keep going for championships. I can see myself retiring, soon, basically.
But he has the privilege to say that. He's won 4 championships now. So he's able to say, if he decides to retire next year, no one's going to say, oh, he didn't try hard enough. He's already won 4. And he's not getting close to, beating Lewis's record anytime soon, because he'll have to win 3 more under new regulations for him to do that. So I think no one would blame him if he said he's not interested. But if it was at the beginning of his career, and he was saying, I don't really care for this, then it would be a bit more of an issue. Same way with Lance. Lance has not won a championship before. Lance has not even, won a race, and he's already sounding uninterested in the sport. He's got no passion. He's been in the sport for so many years, and I think that's what pisses people off, because someone else could be in that Aston Martin team. Maybe not this year, maybe not 2026, but someone else could be in the Aston Martin team when it's thriving, and they could be getting very good results and really pushing the team forward, and instead you've got Lance, who could potentially be bringing the team down.
Right, well, I think we should talk about how both Lance Stroll and Max are viewed in the media, because they're very different. They tell very different stories. For example, in 2022, during the Austrian Grand Prix, a French commentator named Lionel was live on air on the official F1 TV French commentary feed, so this wasn't some random man on the internet. He said, of course Aston Martin want to keep Sebastian Vettel. It's not Lance, the autistic, who is going to understand anything about cars. His co-commentator told him he'd gone too far, and Lionel said, honestly, this is the truth. And he was suspended. So we're not going to defend what he said. It was offensive, it was wrong, and he absolutely deserved the consequences that he got. But what we are going to do is zoom into the assumption buried inside the comment that he said, because it wasn't really about the word that he used. It was about the idea underneath what he said. It was the idea that Lance doesn't belong in Formula One, that he doesn't understand the sport, that a real driver would get it and he doesn't, and that he was placed there, didn't earn the right to be there. But a year earlier, The Race, which is a very respected outlet of F1 journalism, published a love loving, long profile of Max Verstappen's upbringing, and the headline was "Tough Love, Curious Methods, the Making of Max Verstappen." The making of, like he was some sort of sourdough starter that Joss had been carefully tending to for a decade. And the framing throughout is one of genuine admiration. And it was a father, a father that had gone further than anyone else had for their son.
Some would argue a bit too far.
Planet F1 reported Max's own take, which was his father's way wouldn't have worked for everyone, but for me, it was what I needed. Sometimes I did question why he had to be so serious and strict all the time, but now I'm grateful for it. And Sky Sports Italia went to Joss himself, who said, at the beginning of his career, I treated him hard, but he needed that. I was hard on him, and I was strict, but because of that, he became who he is. Max came to F1 with a lot of confidence and was not afraid of anything. Nobody called for Joss to be suspended. Nobody wrote the piece asking whether the product of that upbringing deserved his seat. Nobody questioned whether the son of a failed F1 driver who had spent a decade engineering your entire existence around being a world champion was a little bit of an unfair advantage, because it wasn't money, so it didn't seem to really count. Whereas Lance Stroll has spent hundreds of millions building his son's path to Formula One, Jos Verstappen spent a decade making his son's childhood an endurance test. We look at Lance and we see someone who doesn't seem to deserve to be there, but we look at Max as someone who was forged to be there. But both of these boys were shaped by their father, and neither of them chose the family they were born into. And we decided collectively, or maybe culturally as a sport, that one kind of making counts and the other doesn't. So my question to both of you is, do Nepo babies in F1 deserve the same level of praise as drivers who are there without this advantage? Reem,
Yes.
Choose a number, 1 or 2.
2.
You are going to be arguing that no. Nav, that means you are going to be arguing yes. To the question that is, do Nepo babies in F1 deserve the same level of praise as drivers who are there without this advantage? And to make it fun and sprightly, I'm going to give you 1 minute to be able to argue this.
I'd argue Reem's got the easier argument to go for. So I think she should start.
You're going to have to get creative.
Reem, you are arguing no. 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. F1 is a game of privilege, and a lot of drivers come in through the privilege of having the money to afford to be in the sport. However, being a Nepo baby adds a whole entire level of privilege that other drivers don't. It's not just about the money, it's about the connections, it's about the history. And because they have that, they get an extra leg up against other drivers, against a sport that's already extremely competitive for the people who can get on the grid and who can't. And by doing that, they're potentially Xing out a lot of other drivers that could be as talented or even more talented that could be part of the sport because they don't have that connection. And that doesn't always come across in their performance. Sometimes their performance could be extremely lacking, and you could tell that it's extremely lacking and they're not trying hard enough, such as sometimes with Lance Stroll's performance, and it makes it unfair to the people that are competing in F2, F3, thinking that they're going to have a position in F1, but they can't because someone else is already taking it because of connection.
Time! You're deducting 5 points there.
Nice.
You didn't say time.
No.
I said time. You didn't respect the time master. Nav, you are arguing yes. And you are going in 1, 2, 3, yes.
Nepo babies exist everywhere, not just in F1. So why are we saying that they don't deserve a place, they don't deserve respect? At the end of the day, I think everyone everywhere deserves respect, except from dictators and evil people, obviously. But like, there are Nepo babies in every single industry, whether you like to admit it or not. There are Nepo babies in your normal 9-to-5 office. At the end of the day, I think it's not about how you got into the position, it's what you choose to do with yourself when you are in that position. If you look at someone like Max Verstappen, he has taken the advantage he has, and he has produced some brilliant drives, some world championship winning drives. He has inspired so many other people to get into the sport. He has created a fan base. He's created a huge amount of support from other people. And you've got someone like Lance Stroll, who has also, got fans and stuff.
Time. I am awarding this debate to Nav.
Yay!
I thought it was a creative argument, and when I said time, you ceased to speak.
I did.
Reem, it's a lesson in debate club.
I disagree, but we can all agree to disagree.
Thank you for wrapping that up so nicely. Okay, right. Let me be clear. Max and Lance aren't the only two data points of this story. F1 has been producing Nepo babies for fucking decades, and the results are all over the place. So before we decide how we really feel about this, let's look at some evidence, shall we? A name I'm going to bring up first is Mick Schumacher, who is the son of...
Michael Schumacher.
Yes,
Well done.
who is the most decorated driver in history of the sport, with 7 world championships and arguably the best to ever do it. No pressure, Mick. Here's the thing. Mick actually did everything right on paper. He won the 2020 F2 championship legitimately. He earned his seat at Haas on results. Nobody bought it. Nobody built the team around it. He got there the proper way. And when he got there, it just didn't work. In 2 seasons, he scored 12 points in 43 starts. He was outperformed by his teammates. And when he was trying to get back on the grid as a free agent in 2024, Williams team principal James Vowles was asked about signing him at the Italian Grand Prix and said, this is a direct quote, "I think, to be straightforward about this, Mick isn't special. He just would have been good." He apologised the next morning, said that he used the word special in the context of multiple world champions like Ayrton Senna and Lewis Hamilton, and called it a foolish comparison to make. Which, yes, but also the comment landed because everybody already knew it was true. The name that opened up every single door became the heaviest thing Mick Schumacher was carrying, because he was never just a driver trying to make it, he was Michael Schumacher's son trying to make it. Every lap, every qualifying session, every result was measured not against the midfield, but against the greatest driver who ever lived. That's not an advantage, that is a life sentence. So, here is the question I'd like to ask you, ladies. If you earn your seat fairly, do your results still matter? Or does the name mean you'll always be held to a standard no one else on the grid has to meet?
Oh.
Is this another debate style?
No.
I think that it's a mix of both. I think at the end of the day...
It's a debate style. I lied.
Oh, okay.
Nav, you are debating for no this time.
Mm-hmm.
Reem, you are debating for yes.
So no to what?
No to, if you earn your seat fairly, do your results matter, or does the name mean you'll always be held to a standard no one else at the grid has to meet?
And I'm saying no. Jesus, okay.
And Reem, you are saying yes. And Nav, as you went last time, you'll be going first this time. 1, 2, 3, no!
No, the results don't matter, and the name doesn't always put like a heavy burden on your shoulders. At the end of the day, you are your own person, and you know, you can choose to do well or you can choose to fail, and Mick in this instance chose to fail, and that's on him. I don't think that it matters if your results aren't good just because you're a Nepo baby. At the end of the day, people who aren't Nepo babies also have really bad results. And just because he is a Schumacher doesn't mean that he was going to be amazing. The name isn't what gives you the skills in motorsport. It's the actual actions and your ability to drive. So I don't think any of it matters, really.
With time to spare, no less. Very concise argument. Reem, over to you. 1, 2, 3, go.
What is the biggest driver of F1? It's not just the sport and the driving, it's money. And what brings money? It's PR and marketing. So sometimes, yes, they can come into the sport fairly and they could get all of the results to get them into actually competing in F1. But a lot of the times, the decision will come down to this name, this particular name that we know is associated with this great driver can bring us great PR and marketing and more sponsorship and more money for the team to keep driving the team forward. So, even if they don't think they're getting favoured, they likely are because it's all very strategic playing, which means that there's a lot more greater emphasis on the results that they're bringing in. Because yes, they're going to be under the spotlight. Yes, they're going to be tested to see if they're as good as the relatives that were in the sport before them. And if they disappoint, yes, they'll be criticised a lot harsher than they would against other drivers because they had the name with them and they're going to be tested against it. And that is why I think my answer is a yes.
Wow, you did that literally exactly in the 60 seconds.
Damn. Quite proud of myself.
I give that argument to Reem. Well done.
Ooh,
well done.
thank you.
You're a point apiece, a point apiece.
Please tell me you have a tiebreaker.
I do have a tiebreaker. And you know what? I'm going to be generous. I've got 2 different people. Would you like to decide who you'd like to hear more about?
Oh.
Are you going to tell us the options?
Were you going to say yes to my question?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Nico Rosberg or Nikita Mazepin?
Nico Rosberg. Ooh. I don't know who the other person is.
Wouldn't it be a great time to learn?
Fair, but you're going to have to give a lot of history and context.
Nav, do you have any opinions left or right on this one?
I'm going to say Nikita Mazepin.
I'm also going to say Nikita Mazepin.
I think his story is a bit more interesting.
He does have a fun name. You know, he was called Nikita Mazepin as a nickname in F1.
I would have given him Marzipan as a nickname because it sounds like
the name actually has context.
Because he spun a lot. If he ate a lot of marzipan, then I'm with you. But alas, that was maybe more a pet name if you were going out with him, is maybe where you're coming from.
A little Marzi.
Like the little Nicky Wicky Marzipanny. Nikita Mazepin, who is, by any reasonable metric, the most extreme example of what a Nepo baby really is all about. Nikita is the son of Dmitry Mazepin, who is a Russian oligarch whose company, Uralkali, effectively saved Haas from financial collapse by becoming the team's title sponsor. The car was painted in the colours of the Russian flag, his son got the seat, and it was, by every account, a transaction between two businessmen.
See, this is interesting because this isn't a dad who was previously in the sport or is actually buying a team in the sport. This is just a pay driver, like, straightforward.
Yes. Nikita happened to be the product that was being delivered in that transaction. Before he'd even managed to turn a wheel, questions were already being raised. The race noted that he had come close to a race ban's worth of penalty points by the end of his F2 season and had been suspended early in his career for an altercation with another driver, and had also posted a video on Instagram of himself groping a woman. He kept the seat anyway because the money was there, and in F1, when the money is there, the questions tend to go a little bit quiet. But on track, his best finish all season was 14th, which happened twice, and he ended the year 21st and last in the Drivers' Championship. In a car that finished last in the Constructors' Championship, he was, not to put too fine of a point on it, not very good. And then Russia invaded Ukraine, and Haas released a statement, a very short, clear statement, which said, Haas F1 team has elected to terminate with immediate effect the title partnership of Uralkali and its driver contract with Nikita Mazepin. One sentence, the sponsorship and the driver terminated together in the same breath because realistically they were the same thing. The moment the money became untouchable, the driver suddenly became unnecessary. There was no conversation about his performances, no deliberation about his future, no period of reflection. The sponsorship went, the driver went with it, simultaneously, automatically, like they were always just one item in the same invoice, which, as it turns out, they actually were. Now, Lance obviously has a father who built the team. Mick Schumacher had a father whose name opened doors, but Nikita Mazepin had a father whose company owned the team, essentially. He wasn't a Nepo baby, he was just a line item on a sponsorship contract. So here is your question. Nikita Mazepin wasn't really a racing driver who had a sponsor, he was a sponsorship deal that came with a driver attached. So my question is, if Nikita Mazepin's seat disappeared the moment his father's money did, was he ever really a racing driver, or was he always just a business deal that happened to wear a helmet?
Ooh,
And
that's a good question.
Reem, you are going to be arguing for that he was a racing driver.
Oh.
Nav, you're going to be arguing that he was not a racing
Thank
driver.
Fuck.
Reem, I'm going to give
Great.
you 1 minute, and it... How dare you? And it starts in 3,
Wait, I'm
2,
starting?
1, go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, your time's already starting.
Listen. You can't, as you said, Nepo babies exist everywhere. And if you were to get someone who's a celebrity Nepo baby, who's known for acting, and who's a huge, huge name in the media, like Kim Kardashian, for example, and you put them in an F1 driver's seat, they're not going to know how to drive. She's not going to know. Doesn't have the experience. She doesn't have the knowledge. So even though, yes, he was a huge Nepo baby in terms of he was able to bring in the money and he was part of a transactional deal, he still had the experience, he still had the talent, because he ultimately wouldn't have been in the seat if he didn't know how to drive an F1 car. He wouldn't be an F1 if he didn't know how to be an F1. Yes, he didn't score many points. Yes, he didn't become a great driver. Yes, he didn't win a championship. But at the end of the day, you can't argue that he's not a driver, because he would have, died on track if he didn't know how to. That is my argument.
Time! Nav, it's over to you. 1, 2, 3, go!
He was never an F1 driver. He was never meant to be there, and the proof is in the pudding. The second that sponsorship deal ended, he was out of the seat. Okay, granted, it was also because of the Russian connection, but let's take that out of the equation. If the sponsorship deal dried up, if he was a good enough driver and actually considered to be an F1 driver, they would work out how to have him remain in the team even though the sponsorship is gone. Like you say, a contract in F1 is only as good as the paper it is written on. Everyone changes up contracts and stuff like that, but they knew that they only had to suck it up with him as long as Uralkali was the sponsor. They didn't want him as a driver. They weren't looking into him as a driver without the fact that the sponsorship was there. It, as you say, is just a line of transaction on a contract for a sponsorship. They never actually wanted him as a driver because they don't consider him a driver.
And with 2 seconds to spare. Now, The tie has been broken.
Oh.
I'm giving it to Nav.
Yes!
I agree with your argument, and Rima is a tough spot for you. I know, you fought valiantly.
It was Briggs.
Yeah, okay, I'm glad with my choice.
You made a very valid point, though.
protest.
You did.
Thank you.
I mean, he was also in F2. Granted, it was probably because F2 also had Eurocali as a sponsor somewhere, but it was a valiant argument.
Thank you.
And when I heard it, I thought, fuck.
And there we go. That is our episode on the Nepo baby paradox. How are we feeling about Nepo babies now, ladies?
It's weird because I've argued on both sides and it's kind of split my opinion.
I can see both sides now.
Is that
What?
a song?
Song is
Yeah.
that?
Are you changing I Can See Clearly now?
Yeah, that's what I saw.
No,
It as.
isn't it the song from what's it called? Love Actually?
What song is that?
Yeah.
Hold on.
I can see both sides now.
Maybe I'm saying
Do
the
you mean
lyrics.
I see both sides like Chanel.
No, that's Frank Ocean.
And that's also not in Love Actually.
It's not in Love, actually, but at least it makes more fucking sense than what she said.
Oh.
Hold on. Both sides now from by Joni Mitchell.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I don't know that does it play that part of the song? Because I always,
Yeah.
when she's crying, I know it's the where da 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 da. I'm always so devastated by Emma Thompson's devastatingly good portrayal of a heartbroken wife.
Oh, honestly,
Yeah.
it hits the feels.
It does hit.
Yeah.
I've never been a heartbroken wife, but I feel like it.
No, same. But I feel we've all felt that heartbreak. It's
Mhm.
like when you think you had a chocolate bar left over from the other day, and then you realise you actually ate it. And you sort of feel the same way.
It's
That
like
was
when
really
Waitrose
heartbreak.
stopped selling the fried egg crisps.
Yeah.
They stopped?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
They've only got truffle, olive oil, and ham.
Oh. Yeah.
Awful.
I'll wrap it up. Well, that was the first episode of the Culture Files series. We will be doing a few of these throughout the season of F1 this year, as we have some races that have been cancelled, so we thought we'd try out something new. I have something cooking up that may involve driver products
Ooh.
that we might be trying and also debating. Do they need even more money?
Can I put in a formal request?
Sure.
Okay. When we were doing the commercialization episode and we were also talking about like the tobacco ban and stuff like that, we got to that topic because of the fact that McLaren had a Velo sponsorship. Velo have McLaren branded snus,
Yeah.
and I think we should snus on pod.
I've never tried snus. I have no
Same.
idea what that's going to do.
Well, it'll impact your ability to talk.
Will it?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea for a podcast?
Well, I think it'll be funny.
Oh, okay. I was thinking more trying, like, some ice cream by Leclerc. But okay. If you would like to reach out to us, send us a message, react to some of our content, or just see what we're up to, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We got rid of X because no one uses that anymore. And next weekend, we are back with you for all the race analysis and breakdown for the Japanese Grand Prix, which will be very exciting. And I've also seen some very cool liveries potentially coming out.
Same.
So, catch all of
And
that.
Lewis Hamilton has been spotted in Japan already with Kim Kardashian, Khloe Kardashian, and their friend Malika.
It's
So
getting
maybe
serious.
Kardashian Ferrari garage takeover.
Oh.
Let's see how that goes. We will catch you next week. Look after yourselves and see you later.